Alright. Hope I'm not out of focus. Sometimes I think I am. Right there, I'm okay. It all depends there. Alright. Very well. There. So, I'm going to be talking about 1 year later about Hurricane Maria here in Puerto Rico. Hurricane Maria has been the most devastating hurricanes ever faced here in Puerto Rico ever since Hugo and Hurricane George back in the 80s and 90s. And I only existed through George, but George wasn't exactly as strong as Maria. But it has been a year of the hurricane passing through this island. And let's see, where do I start this story? I will not show you any footage because by the time I was actually saving some power from my phone, and I really took small footages. I barely couldn't even go outside because of the strong winds. And what else? It's it's a bit complicated if I just say everything and remember everything that happened. But I'll at least try to tell you guys my experience through that hurricane being here. And yeah, so it started a day like today, um, maybe a day like yesterday, since I'm actually uploading this tonight or tomorrow, whatever. Anyways, 2017, September 19th, the winds were actually there. The winds were actually blowing, very not constantly stronger, as in like 2 a.m. or anything like that, but we were feeling winds and really hardcore ones. My basically my two brother-in-laws were actually here staying with my nephew. My girlfriend was also staying here at Kaine. She was staying here also. There was also my parents are still were here. So let's see. That day it was on. I think it was like 4 p.m. and that was mostly like I was gonna do some sort of, how shall we call it, a live stream. I think it was my last live stream of that year. I did not want to, face that fact that it was going to be my last live stream that year. I tried, but yeah. The last thing I live streamed was a Rocket League gameplay. I was playing with my family here, with my nephew, baby nephew, no, with my step nephew, and my brother-in-law and Kaine. We were all playing. I think it was 2v2, or maybe we were working as a team. So what happens is the lights go out, the power goes out, and and when you're live streaming through the PlayStation, the YouTube is still live streaming, because you need, if you don't actually stop your live stream on your PlayStation 4, it continues on until like at least 12 hours, and it just cuts off. And I needed to do that very fast, but there was no power. But then the power came back within 10 minutes. And I was like, okay, let's do this fast and let's cut it off. I went to YouTube. I went to the to the live stream events or something like that to stop the live stream right there. And what else happened? So I turned everything off. I unplugged everything because it was time to just like end it there. Because these electronic things get busted by any source or any electric. Um, they get damaged pretty easy. Let's just say it like that. So the power didn't go out by then. so um so that means that I could live stream even within that period of time, but for safety, for my stuff and my electronics, I decided not to live stream that after that. So I remember that live stream, there was Cloud Wi-Fi, yeah, Wi-Fi 7. So he actually was in the chat, and he was actually worried about what actually happened to us. But I explained to him on Discord, in which I still had data on my phone, and I actually managed to at least say something and update the situation. So after that, we went outside, and the wind started even the day before as a category 5. So there were winds like at least Irma, the Hurricane Irma. I was like, okay, this feels like Irma at first, and I was like, I was playing my violin outside. A lot of people been posting memes on Facebook. It was really hilarious. I will see those soon as a memory of last year's event. People posting memes of the lights going out and saying goodbye to the power. Because here in Puerto Rico the power is whack. The power here is jack shit. Power here. That's why the most, I think, was the New York and California actually helped us getting the power back. I'll get into that in a few minutes. So we were outside the winds, and then when it started really slow. So I'm going to jump at 9. I think it was at 9 p.m. that night. It was raining a lot, and there were winds, but not as strong as we were going to face. Not yet. So the power finally went out at 8 because it was getting in and out. The power was like, yeah, here I am, now I'm gone. Here I am, now I'm gone. I'm like, just please go already. So at 8:30, it was like, that's it. That's the last night that I saw lights, the power in my house. So gladly the neighbors helped us to. They have this portable power plant in which they help us through that. We actually help with the gas and all that. So there's I think it was like 9 or 10. I was actually watching the Caribou Kai play a live stream. I think it was supposed to be a Wednesday live stream. I think they were live streaming some Mario Maker or something else. I do not know. I had to recheck that. And yeah, I was in the chat telling that this actually the winds were there, and the rain was actually heavy. So I was using my data to watch their live stream, for entertainment and to support. I always support even in the difficult circumstances. And so I needed to save a little bit of power. So I said goodbye and I turned my phone off. And we I tried to sleep. I think it was like at 11. I slept at least 2.5 hours, 11 until 1 a.m. So what happens is I hear these strong winds hitting like everything. So this is where it gets scarier because all I remember was uh, winds, rain, and my island, the trees, the nature actually suffering from this phenomenon. It was 2 or 1 in the morning that I woke up. I was like, I can't sleep. I can't freaking sleep. So I went to my girlfriend, let's see, to see how she was. She couldn't sleep either. I went to where my nephew and my sister was. Oh, but this is funny. I think if I'm not mistaken, my sister, my older sister. Well, I'm older than her, but her husband, my brother-in-law, he actually went to his house and stayed there. His house is really their house was really small because they moved out, and he stayed there. And I'm like, dude, are you sure? Cause it's gonna get a little bit worse. This was like at 11 or at 10, right before I went to bed. And he was really cocky. Oh, dude, nothing's gonna happen. Um, oh boy. So he actually went to his house. His house was right in this street. We were living in the same street. Basically neighbors. My sister slept here in my house with my baby nephew, and yeah, skipping to 1 and 2 a.m. Things got really creepy. Uh, let's see. You see these windows on the back? They were actually open and closing. At least one of them, or maybe two. You know how creepy that seems? It was creepy at the level that you could not like let it slip. You have to lock that thing so it will stay shut and close. And we managed to do it. The winds were actually hitting us hard. We saw the governor saying the most last word of the of this event about this hurricane that was going to hit us, and to stay strong. I think those people will not remember those words since the governor is basically nothing right now. But back then, I mean, at least we were all supporting each other on Facebook. Facebook was a source of those, kinds of things. It was funny at first, but then people starting to like change their mood. Memes were not at that time. People were actually scared and crying in a level of fear. Fear as I do not want to experience this anymore, and I want this thing to go away as fast as possible. And for that, people were like in that circumstance of uh how do I say it? They were posting stuff that were um, those same people posting memes were actually scared of this thing. I mean, it's natural because this was the first time that we actually faced a hurricane this level, and I saw that mood, saw that change and development through these few hours of this event, and people changed. People were scared, frightened. People been saying this sounds like a train. The winds are hitting us hard. Stay strong, Puerto Rico. I have never faced this ever. Similar things like that. And there were people who were actually hiding in closets, bathrooms, or anything that will be safe, because this was heavy shit. So I couldn't sleep at all, and it was a really dark night. My aunts called like at 3 in the morning, calling dad, and they were really scared. One of my aunt's house was actually struck by, I think it was like a tree or some, it went through the window, and my uncle was actually holding for it to not the water come in, and it was at that level of dangerous. Anyone could really been killed out there, even inside your house. The wind started to come in their house, and even the water, so they just had to hide in their room and leave it as it is. Here, we need to lock everything. The doors, the windows, everything. Even the frontal doors, they were almost like I thought they were going to explode, like literally. And Dad needed to like wrap it up with wood, with wires, and all those kinds of stuff to hold it in, because it was literally going to break. It felt that the wind were like directly pushing the doors, because when you are in the eye of the hurricane, winds go in different directions, and that's what we actually felt. And Hurricane Maria was frightening as even the sound. I told my friends that this sounded like a demon, a female demon. Like, it was really creepy at most. And I was like, man, these things have their own personalities. And my mom told me that is true. These things have their own personalities. And for the most part of this, story, and I know that all of you were like very worried out there. I could see that even friends and family from Florida, even Wisconsin or New York or South Carolina, you guys were like, what is going on down there? And while you were watching the news and you seeing floods, seeing things destroyed, so jumping in, the scary stuff and what happened after, I think I post a picture of before and after. I think it was on Facebook. and I said that we will rise or we will come back or something like that. I don't remember. And it hit us hard, and not emotionally, not just emotionally, but the things that we love to see in nature were also gone. Uh, even steel poles, uh, even traffic lights were destroyed. Fell down on the floor like they were dominoes. A huge mess. This was a Instead of Hurricane cleaning the area, they made a huge mess like always. And yeah, that is mostly what actually the experience was. Maybe I'm forgetting some stuff. I recorded some footages that I actually put on my yearly video on 2017 last year. Um, just the winds blowing and that's it. A perspective from my inside of the house and recording to the outside. So yeah, it's been a whole year of recovering because we still have not recovered. Believe it or not, we're slow in recovering, and that's the most downfall of this island. And I love my island, regarding its flaws and its shitty government. It's my decision, and I chose to at least acknowledge those stuff, but I still live in where my parents actually were born, and I was born here, and I'll stay here. Um, by the time I was actually talking to my friend Dids, Digital Games, and he was actually planning to leave Puerto Rico since I think maybe last year or last year. He already had a plan. We were going to do the Mega Man week. We couldn't do the Mega Man week. There were so many plans that we actually wanted to do and we could not do. He could actually tell you this story better than I do in his own words and in his own point of view, as exactly how he actually felt the hurricane and his experience with the hurricane and his decision of leaving Puerto Rico. So that actually happened. Digital Games, he actually left like a week or so after the hurricane, and a lot of people were leaving the island for so many reasons, and some of them were like, is that your reason for you to leave? Like, what about the hashtag what was that hashtag? I forgot that hashtag thing about Puerto Rico stands or something like that. And people, wearing flags in their cars, and they were all patriotic at the moment, trying to at least live the moment, because it was really difficult times after the hurricane. After the total disaster, the gas stations and Costco, Sam's, and all these supermarkets and all these stores had long and huge lines, to buy the things that you need. And since there was no power, the gas stations were always full, and there was like only a certain amount of what you could get. And yeah, we lived through those things here. I lived through those things, and such as me, my girlfriend, and my family. Those difficult stuff turned me into what I am today, and I showed you some couple of things that actually throughout my throughout this channel though, that changed me was through these kinds of books. I review all of them. If you want to know exactly um, what they are, they're not mangas, they're light novels. Yeah. So, yeah, it's since there was no power, there was no, TV entertainment, and I had to use my cell phone really last in terms of my battery power. So the only thing to do was to read books. And yeah, even the mail was trash. UPS and USPS were a mess. Everything was a mess. What else was a mess? But through all those circumstances, if you actually see this through this channel, I actually uploaded at least 4 or 5 videos without power. I had no power since I think I did most of the reviews of these books reviews and unboxings and anime reviews too, using Movie Maker. And I was really surprised that I could pull those things off with no power, with no internet. And I was using my data to upload those videos. And I had to go to my roof to get more signal, more 4G network. By the time the only 4G network that was actually working was Claro, because AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, and all those companies were down, were totally down. The only one that was working was Claro. Lucky me that I had Claro, even though it's a piece of crap. But they actually managed to help the other companies to raise, and to rise up and to continue their own things. People actually help each other. I help. We had to cut down trees. Also, my back avocado tree. That was a huge task because I had to not with a chainsaw, mechanical chainsaw. I was legit with a saw. Yeah. Bit by bit, those logs are huge and heavy. I think I went more stronger there. I think I did my workout routine as always and do that. Additionally, that cut down trees and the food here in my house was no issue. There was actually a lot of times that the food was the food was there and there was actually food left. And we're like, well, let's give it to the neighbors. And we actually did that through all these 4 months without power. And there were a lot of people that did not have power for 6 or 7 months later. Damn. So these hard times that were actually there in my life and in other people's personal events or life, I can actually say that this was a lesson to learn. There was through all the disaster, through all the tragedy, there was also something that it was okay. There was something else to learn. There was also sometimes something to develop. Between those times, I think I made a video of the update. I think Ryan Ashmore was actually in the comment section. They were all worried. Even our community was worried about us uh, Cloud Wifeng, and I think McMortar also, Karibukai plays such as Officer Dan and Shinja. Basically, the whole, not the whole Discord community of that I know of were actually worried, and I give you guys thank you for that, because not a lot of people see us as, you know, people that are productive. And I say that for many reasons. But I won't mention that because I'm not going to make this as a political video. This is most likely the events of Maria, the hurricane, and the what happened after. So I was actually giving an update video of that event. The actual military actually helped. The army. I think 2 weeks later, the vice president came over, and also the President Trump. And yeah, I mean, my family lived through that with no power, you know, with beach coolers. Yeah, beach coolers, which you put in juice and, you know, things that you go and take to the beach. We were living through that, and also buying ice mostly every day, ice cubes, and it was some really difficult times, and most of it, and I think this video is already too long, but I don't want to make it, you know, 2 hour long. I mean, I know I talk too much, but I learned a lesson, and I learned that even without power, lights, and you could actually brighten the dark, even though you're under these circumstances. I never stopped uploading videos. I never stopped doing my own stuff. Nothing actually stopped me, really, through all these circumstances. And I really want you guys to at least listen what I have to say, and, you know, because this is what I actually learned, my personal view of stuff throughout this event and after it. And there's always something to learn. There's always something that sometimes it will hit you very hard, and you might think, oh man, how will I rise up through all this? There's no power, basically everywhere. There's no power everywhere, anywhere, and there's generators, power plants everywhere, stench, diesel, you know, gasoline, and all that. So mostly, I grew strong through all that. I read all these books. I read more books. Something that I don't basically do, because I usually play video games and read other kinds of books instead of, you know, the Full Metal Alchemist books. And I give thanks, even though, to all those people who actually look up and worried about us on these difficult circumstances. So yeah, I think that's my part of the story for Hurricane Maria. I think I'm, you know, maybe forgetting some stuff, you know, to say, but as always, I mean, there's always something to learn, even though the things are very hard in life. Don't make that stop you. I mean, I'm really glad that none of that stopped me. And I stood up, and I continued doing my things that I loved. So, I'm gonna finish it right here, guys, and I hope you like this video. And you know, if you like this video, or you know, favorite, comment, and subscribe your thoughts. If you're a Puerto Rican, please, tell me your thoughts and your point of view of how you actually experience this event. And yes, uh, so please don't forget to favorite, rate, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for supporting the channel. This has been Zarapunky telling a story, and I'll see you guys later.